Hail cheaters, welcome to the Always Cheating Podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Brandon. Brandon, how are you?
Josh, we were just one word away from the greatest Friends quote of all time, with Ross saying, "We were on an international break." So if anybody out there listening can somehow cram international into that legendary Friends soundbite, I'd be so giddy. Wait, are you feeling this right now, Josh? The international breakness of it all? I feel like we've gathered here on this podcast to basically put it behind us already and look ahead to Gameweek 9. Are you ready?
I am ready. I something over the last week or so, it broke some kind of cycle that I was in about this season and feeling, I feel like maybe I've been a little kind of like negative under a cloud, kind of a rough start to the season. I'm sure some people listening feel the same way. And I want that to stop starting now. I think that there was something happened. I'm sort of like, I've made peace with it not being the best start. And I'm moving forward, Brandon. We're not going to look back anymore. And so that is the theme of this week's podcast. Okay. International break may still be on for 2 more days, but I am already in Josh Landon looks ahead mode. Okay.
Yeah.
I do think we should talk though about, because the stakes were pretty high for these international breaks. We had World Cup qualifiers. We had Euro qualifiers. Congrats to Scotland, who just made their way into Euro 2024 today. So a quick roundup, Brandon, for anyone who hasn't been paying that much attention, anyone who was on a break, much like us.
We were on a break.
It's, what did you miss? Quick roundup here. Okay. I've got some bullets for you, Brandon. First one, Andy Robertson injured.
Oh boy.
The degree of that injury to be determined. I think that we'll know more this week, but I think it certainly opens up the idea of a possible Tsimikas punt. It's an incredible run for Liverpool over the next 3 weeks. Everton at home, Forest at home, Luton away, Brentford at home. That's just in the next 4 matches. So even if Robbo was only out for 2 or 3 weeks, that still might be enough for you to take the Tsimikas plunge. The shame, he's not quite as cheap as he used to be. In my head, he was still, there was a couple of years ago, you could get Tsimikas in as the kind of 4 million Robbo backup. Now he's at, let's see here. Oh, he's only at 4.4. So he's still pretty cheap. That'll do just fine. Yeah, exactly. So Tsimikas at 4.4.
On his injury, it's a shoulder injury, and you saw him walking off from the Scotland match with his arm sort of wrapped up in his jersey. And it reminded me of the Palhinha injury for Fulham at the very start of this campaign. And Palhinha came back after 3 to 4 weeks, I think it was. You do see other players sidelined for much longer with shoulder injuries. So as you say, we need more information. Hopefully for Robbo's sake and Liverpool's sake, it's not that long, but it is a window of opportunity for Mr. Tsimikas. True.
I have personally dislocated my shoulder before, Brennan, as you know. And
you recover as long as it takes us to jam it back into your socket. You're back in you're back in the action.
Yeah, but that minutes. First, right after the initial dislocation, there is that moment you're like, is this thing ever going to stay back in its place? And so you have to have to be a little safe for a while there. And so I think they'll probably exercise a little bit of caution, especially because the fixtures are pretty good. And I don't know. I mean, the matches are just never going to stop, and so it's not like there's going to be some window of time where things are going to slow down, maybe in March or something like that. So they just have to but there's like you said, you really can't rush this stuff, and they have a very capable left back replacement. So anyway, we don't really know how long he's going to be out for. I think that we can talk more about Tsimikas actually later on in the pod. We have a question from our old friend FPL Chancer that we can dive into a little bit, but I did want to note that right at the start for anybody who's looking at a defender replacement. I know that I am right now with the Stupinan. So despite the fact that I like and respect Andy Robertson, Brandon, I am hoping for a significant injury that kept him out for a long time, where he made a full recovery, 100% full recovery, but maybe it takes him 2 months to make that recovery. That's what I'm kind of hoping
his
for.
family is still getting the most out of him, and his earning potential doesn't take a hit at all. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe he books more commercials during this.
It could be. It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. He may be able to solidify some investments, get some more money into the market.
Learn how to play guitar.
Be fine. learn how to play guitar. There's a lot of ways that this could go for Andy Roberts, all of them positive. Mm-hmm. And for our fantasy teams, I think that the longer he's out, the better. Sorry to say, Andy. Other bits of news, Haaland blanked again today in the Norway-Spain match. He did score a brace earlier in the week. That was against Cyprus, though, so I feel like you have to I feel like we need a little bit of a Cyprus qualifier there. This isn't tennis, Brandon. He wasn't playing against Marcos Bagdatis or something.
Sure.
So I think that it's just, if you were a little worried still about Haaland, it's like 90 minutes, another blank. It's not super encouraging, I would say. It's sort of, maybe it's a glass half full, glass half empty.
It was a crucial match for Norway. I mean, you talk about Scotland. They finished now in the group with Spain above Norway, and Norway, with just one match left to play, are out on points. So this is a huge disappointment for him and Odegaard, who also played 90 minutes in that match against Spain. Some people ask questions like, well, what's the quality of this Norway team compared to the rest of the Arsenal team or the rest of the City team with Rodri coming back in Gameweek 9? But we will try to get to that when I think we talk about Gameweek 9 captaincy options.
Yeah, and I think that it's just a shame, too, that we kind of will never, unfortunately, it seems like, see Norway on the international stage. And we kind of went through this a little bit with Zlatan in his prime, too. I mean, Sweden has a better history international football wise, but still, it feels like there were a lot of great tournaments where they, we just didn't see Sweden and Zlatan on the stage.
Sure,
so,
we still got that Zlatan goal against England with the bicycle kick from heard around the world. So maybe Haaland will have his moment one way or another, whether it's meaningful or not.
Is it going to cost him a Ballon d'Or, I wonder?
It certainly helps. The way Mbappe and France are going, France is showing no real signs of slowing down generationally. So I think that's a big Ballon d'Or problem for him.
I know. I mean, they won the was it the triple, the quadruple, whatever it was last year? Is
treble.
That enough for the treble? The treble.
I like you jump from, is it the triple or the quadruple?
Well, they won. Did they win 4 cups or 3 last year? Was it just 3?
They won the 3. I don't think the Community Shield is counting for anything.
Well, I don't think they won the
which
Community
they didn't
Shield
even win.
anyway,
Liverpool won that, of course.
Yeah.
Just the 3. You've got to win at least 10 to get to. Jorginho, I think, won 15 trophies when he finished 5th in the voting for the Ballon d'Or. So.
All right, so it's not about trophy. Maybe Messi will win just for his performance in the. Well, he did. I mean, he did win the World Cup, and so
Messi's got it. So just like this year is a write-off. Yeah,
that's true. But it ended in December. This is sort of like when someone wins the Grammy for best new album, and it's an album that came out like 16 months ago, but because of the grant, I don't know, whatever. The Grammys being relevant again, it's the weirdest thing. It's all social media. Anyway, I don't want to start talking about the Grammys, Brandon.
Please
even
don't.
though I do kind of want to. Let's move on. A couple other bits of news. Ollie Watkins scored the only England goal in a friendly versus Australia. It's a couple days ago. It was first match for England in 563 days. A lot more time between matches than I thought. I just assumed at some point in the last year and a half he would have been called up, but first time in 563 days for Ollie Watkins. So
I think that position is an easy one for Southgate to rotate amongst forward players in England, and because Harry Kane is like sole ownership over the number 9 shirt. That is great to see Watkins get that opportunity and to get his goal, because it may be his last. I think England's match on Tuesday is a friendly, so we could see an interesting. Actually, no, it's a Euro qualifier, so it's the opposite. we could see back to regularly scheduled programming with Harry Kane in the 9 and Ollie Watkins getting a rest ahead of Game Week 9.
Most likely, but still good for Ollie, and I suppose good for fantasy managers who want to see him keep scoring. Or doing something on the pitch, assisting, scoring. It's always something with
goal.
It's always something with that guy, Brandon. Let's see, Brazil's Arsenal's center back, Gabriel, scored for Brazil. Played a 1-1 draw. Gabby J came in as a sub. Charleston started that match. So, and I will also note that Brazil is in Uruguay and Argentina is in Peru for late matches on Tuesday. So,
fun.
Yeah, coming back from Peru, even though it's Tuesday to Saturday, and I believe Man City play in the what would be the 3 p.m. UK window on Saturday too. So it's a slightly tight turnaround there, and I think that's something to watch out for with some of those players, and maybe just hold up on those transfers until at least Wednesday this week, just to be safe.
Alvarez at least did this during the first international break this season, as he played for Argentina Tuesday night in South America and did make the starting 11 for City that weekend. So, and he remains really important for that squad. I just found it very, in my sick, twisted way. Do you know what Richarlison did in that Brazil match? Could you guess how many minutes he played and what the outcome was?
45-minute blank.
59 minutes and a yellow card. So his fantasy game remains strong even when he plays in South America.
Because Gabriel Jesus, I think, was subbed in for him.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. All right. So that's something to just keep an eye on. Those late matches. I mean, Peru and Uruguay. Those are tricky places to play. If you're worried about your starters, I'm actually a little. It's interesting. I guess we can just bring a little fantasy in here. I mean, one of the reasons I would consider even though I don't mind my 11, I think it looks pretty good at the moment. I would consider an Estupiñán to Tsimikas move, if only to have a little more bench depth for Game Week 9, because I do think there's a good chance that at least one of my starters will just not play because virtually everyone, I think, in my squad is playing somewhere right now over the international break.
All I know is that somebody on our Discord referred to Estupiñán as a stupid man, and I think it could stick. That
sounds like something you would say. I don't know. That sounds like one of your little puns. A couple other quick hits. Bruno played the full 90, had 2 assists in Portugal's match. Darwin Nunez had a late pen. We don't normally get this level of. I'm not normally this diligent about doing this run up, but I thought it was kind of useful to know what everybody was doing.
This is good stuff.
The last handful of days, exactly. Very substantive. So that's where we are. Everyone's playing. Everyone will continue to play through Tuesday. And on a completely different note, Brandon, but speaking of international trips, you and I are going to the UK for Game Week 12.
Yes.
This is the weekend of November 11th. We'll be there for Remembrance Weekend. We are going to 3 matches. Tickets are booked. We're going to be at West Ham for the Olympiacos match. We're going to be at Crystal Palace for the Everton match. And we're going to be at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge for the Chelsea-Man City match. Incredibly excited about 3 of them. Different types of tickets for all 3 games too, so that'll be kind of different experiences we can talk about after the pod. And then Friday night we're working on a meetup, and we're so close, Brandon, to crossing the T's on that. Hopefully in the next couple of days we will have that all taken care of. But if you're looking ahead and you want to meet the cheaters or just get out and meet some other people who are fantasy dorks.
Don't come out to meet us. Come out to meet all of your fellow fantasy managers who live in the greater London area. And
not about us.
Mm-hmm. So we're on the cusp of likely central London location. We'll shoot that out far and wide and talk about it on the next podcast. But mark the calendars. Friday evening, November 10th. We will see you.
Yep. Yes, exactly. So we'll certainly blast that out everywhere once that's all taken care of. All right, Brandon, I think we should get into our Game Week 9 talk a little bit about this clean slate that I think we should kind of kick things off with. But just one very last shout out here, which is to become a Patreon supporter, join the patrons. If you want, I don't know if this is a incentive or something that's going to keep people away, Brandon, I'm not sure. But you and I did an Ask Us Anything pod last Thursday. We did an hour with no fantasy talk. I don't even think there was barely any sports talk. Maybe there was some Detroit Lions talk in there, but we talked about books, we talked about jobs, we talked about New York, we talked about things we want to do on the London trip. It was a very wide-ranging conversation. So it was a lot of fun. If you go to patreon.com/alwayscheating, you can support the podcast and say thank you for the free weekly podcast that we do every Sunday evening.
Yeah, and of course, we'll be back with a Patreon exclusive pod this Thursday night where we talk exactly about what our moves are for Game Week 9, take all of our Patreon questions about last-minute Game Week 9 dilemmas, and you get yourself into that Discord chat to chat directly with us and our friends all the way up to the deadline and the match day live experience.
Perfect. All right, so let's take a quick break, Brandon. We're going to get back and talk about a blank slate in Gameweek 9. All right, Brandon, we're back. Blank slate, tabula rasa. Okay, starting fresh. I think it's really important to do this. I felt like I went through Game Week 5 through 8 under a little bit of a cloud. Was feeling a little down about. It felt like, I don't know, just, a little bad run of fantasy, some bad luck, things not going that well. It didn't go that well for you either, right? Yeah. I mean, neither of us, and it didn't go well for, it seems like someone's doing well, which is great. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's you or me or most of the people listening to the podcast right now. I feel like it's been a tricky start for a lot of us.
The early part of the season has truly been defined by explosive players in specific game weeks, whether it's Son, Sterling, Haaland, or Ollie Watkins. And I think that's a really difficult pill to swallow for particularly experienced fantasy managers who feel they can transfer and manage their way into form or out of a bad situation. But right now, if you're missing the transfer of that particular explosive player, then you're really falling behind. The question, I think, going ahead beyond the blank slate is, can this trend continue? Will the season game week upon game week continue to be defined by one player? Now, they're not outliers. Like Son is not an outlier asset. Many people would have reason to own him. Watkins is maybe the farthest afield where you wouldn't have expected him to have 5 attacking or 6 attacking returns in one game week. But all that said, I'm with you. It's less that I feel frustrated by the season as I just feel like it's just in the distance. Like I'm struggling to see it. Is it a magic eye poster this season?
Is that what it is? That would actually be terrible for me because I've never been able to solve those magic eye posters, and I'm always like, to me, I'm like, okay, I could probably spend an entire day and maybe I'd get there, but I just I can't quite figure out how to. It's like they're like, don't look that hard or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like I don't know how to.
So then what is your technique for blank slate? If my rationale is true and it's just hey, sorry, you missed out on this key player. You can't really you can't figure that out. What's the technique going forward?
Well, I guess, and I don't want to sound like this is like the psychology corner too much here, but I feel like my perspective is just that I just don't think I'm playing very well right now because I don't think I have a very good attitude about it. I don't feel like I'm being very positive or open. I don't think I'm making fantasy fun again, right? I think I've abandoned MFFA principles, Brandon, core principles of this podcast, right? And so I just want to sort of take a good week or a bad week on its own terms, and not sort of, if things don't go well, it's like I'm sort of folding that into every week that hasn't gone well so far, and it's just not going to be that big of a deal if I finish 1 million plus this year, right? It's not going to matter really. I mean, it's like obviously in a literal sense, of course it doesn't matter, but even from like a it's not like we're in some keeper league kind of thing where I'm holding on to these players year over year, right? It's like it's all going to reset next year anyway.
Yeah.
So what
the ultimate blank slate?
Yeah, but what exactly is the point of going through 30 more weeks where I'm just kicking myself and angry and annoyed the whole time? It seems completely pointless and not fun. And so I think, so I guess, to answer your original question, like what's my goal? My goal is to actually be super intentional with my attitude, like actually really try to, it's like, do that kind of mindset thing where I'm just like really trying to put myself in a mindset where I am chill about whatever happens over the weekend. And I think, and of course it's like easier said than done, but I think the best thing that you can do, all you can do is just be like very intentional with your goals here, right? Like this is what I'm really trying to do. I'm really going to focus on enjoying, like if something good happens, just enjoy it on its own terms, right? Not think about ownership, like, oh, who cares because everyone else has this player already anyway. Or if something doesn't go well, don't think about, oh, that just cost me 200,000 rank spots or whatever. Like actually, and if I start to have those patterns, I'm going to try to recognize them and like stop it. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is going to work? This approach?
Knowing you, I have my doubts that it's going to work, but mainly because of the intentionality, because I think you can say your goal is to have fun, but I know your goal will continue to be to finish in the top 10K by the end of the season, which I will say is very, very possible at this point. So I think it's important, to position this discussion for everybody listening contextually. So if you're like us in the 2 to 3 million range, to be intentional for the next 2 months, let's say, is all about attitude. If you're actually having a better start to the season, then actually you want to set goals based on effective ownership and strategic transfers and all that sort of thing. Things get exceptionally more not intentional but specific to the game at that point. So is there like a lesson in positive attitude regardless of where you are in the season right now, rank wise?
Yeah, but I think it's extremely easy to have a positive attitude when things are going well. When I'm having good seasons, I'm like raring to jump on this podcast and talk about it. If you're having a good season, it's like all happy families are alike or whatever, right? It's like everyone who's doing great is feeling great. I think the people who are doing great, they should just enjoy it and just kind of stick with the flow. There is a stress that comes to doing great, but that I don't think that manifests itself unless you're like, I don't know, number one in the world. I feel like it doesn't really manifest itself until like game week 32 or later, right? Where you're suddenly like, oh my God, I could actually, if you're in some money leagues or whatever, you can think, oh my God, I could actually win something here. But I think this early on, just stick with your whatever kind of flow that you're in right now. Trust your instincts.
Let the people at the top think that. Let them let their guard down and have a very happy, positive attitude, and then we will strike.
Exactly. But I think everyone wins. I just want to have a happy, positive attitude at some point this season, right? So, they've already won because so anyway, that's the mindset I'm trying to go into this game week. And I just don't want it to feel like, like one more bad thing. I just don't think that's a fun way to approach the season. There are other things to do in life, right? They just don't like it has to stay fun. Like we have to make sure that we're constantly making fantasy fun again. That should be the goal of this pod. Anyway, so that's enough psychology, Brandon. That's the mindset I'm going into for the rest of certainly let's say for the third block of fall matches before the next international break. All right. Yeah. That's going to take us right through the UK trip. I can't promise that I'll have this mindset in December, Brandon. Let's hold on. I wonder what the opposite mindset would be. Like, we just stop doing the pod. I don't know. The alternative would be like just me coming on and like having like sour grapes all the time. I mean, I don't know. Like, how do you feel? Like, what are your goals for the next handful of weeks?
You just got me thinking about my Instagram Discover feed just being filled with dash cam videos of like car and motorcycle accidents and just road rage. And I wonder if that's like a way we could pivot this podcast if everything continues to go poorly. I think, the role I play in this partnership is I tend to be a little bit more of the positive, sort of just like let it flow manager in that conversation. I feel like this has been a mysterious season in that I felt like I had a decent enough start and I let that mindset continue in my mind even as I started to slip from 800K now back to 2.3 million. So my attitude right now is the sudden realization of the situation that I find myself in. Yeah. And I think it's good because I'm kind of like ready to go to work at this point. Yeah. For me, it's less about changing my attitude to a positive one. It's more resetting into everything's okay to you need to do some work. You need to apply yourself a little bit.
You've also been doing better than me, I think, every single week this season. And that's gotta That's got to feel good. You know what? I've just decided something, Brandon. I got another way to make fantasy fun again. This is something that we always suggest to people when they need a fresh start. And I think beginning of game week 9, Brandon, we're bringing back the $50 Cup.
Let's do it.
It's been on hiatus. It's a head-to-head. Brendan and I have done this for many, many years. And last year we just stopped for some reason. I don't know. Maybe we were too over-leveraged.
I have an idea.
Or something like that.
Last time we hung out at your apartment, we played Mario Golf on your Switch, and we turned it into a skins game. Should we? Is there a way we can turn our head-to-head into a skins game where month to month? Let's
maybe
try
something
that.
We could track. Something we could track on the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. All right, if someone has ideas for how to do a month-to-month skins game, let us know and email us or let us know in the on social media or something like that. All right, so that's enough psychology for this week's pod. Part of starting with a fresh slate, though, is taking a look at upcoming fixtures, trying to clean up your thinking, right? So I'm looking ahead. I've got these transfers. I may or may not make a move, like an actual transfer for Game Week 9, but I just want to look ahead at who has good matches, who has bad matches, like that kind of simple, right? So 3 teams, the upcoming fixtures that are strong, 3 teams, the upcoming fixtures are poor. Okay, just to get everybody listening started on this. 3 teams of strong upcoming fixtures, Brandon. We've got Spurs, Villa, and West Ham. Spurs, it's quite strong for certainly like the next 5 weeks, I'd say. Fulham, Palace, Chelsea at home. I don't even really know. Is Chelsea a hard fixture at the moment? It's impossible to say. Nobody knows.
It's at least one you can say confidently attacking return. Spurs is they're gonna score a goal there. So that's good fantasy wise.
That's true. I feel good about exactly confirmed. Wolves and Villa. So it's a nice run. Spurs also play the Monday match this week too, Brand, which is always kind of. Give me a little Monday action. So I'm gonna have 3 players in that game, so it's gonna be a weird pod next Sunday because we'll have. I think we have the
same players.
3?
You Doggy, Madison, and Son, the 3 of us, and the question will be
fall together. Yeah.
Are one of us is either of us going to have a captain and play on Monday? That's the question.
That is the question. We're going to tease that for the end of the pod, I think. Villa also have quite a strong run. I'm feeling a little caught out right now with Villa, not having anyone from Villa in my squad. I think I can get away with Game Week 9 when they play West Ham, but Luton at home, Forest away, Fulham at home are the following 3 matches. So it feels a little scary not to have Watkins for that trio.
Yeah, I rectified my boo-boo, my whoopsie by transferring Watkins out with my wild card, brought him back in along with Matty Cash, and that was the plan. Look at these fixtures. And it was kind of sickening to see. I'm going to find a way to get more money into my squad to turn Pau Torres into Matty Cash for that Wolves game in Game Week 8, and then to see Pau Torres be the one that returned. However, I will say, for Cash owners, Cash had some incredible attacking opportunities against Wolves, and that's away from home, and Wolves are in a bit of form. So this augurs well. I think that I would say if you're a Diaby owner, you got to be feeling good because we know he's back fit. If you're a Watkins owner, obviously, and if you have any from Torres to Cash, I don't care. It's like Newcastle light with Aston Villa in a good way with defense.
Yeah, Newcastle. Wow, you made such a change, Brennan. You were really neg on that Aston Villa defense, and now it's a total Newcastle light. He says
it was that Newcastle match in Game Week 1 when Mings had that horrible injury, and we've talked about this game a number of times, even in the moment. Where it was, now I see that I should not have blamed Villa as much as I did for
your eyes. Your eyes are open now.
Yeah, I've got my third eye for Aston Villa's
Your third eye is officially open. The other, and then West Ham. Liverpool we have to throw in there as well. I'll do a bonus Liverpool, but just to start with West Ham, I think you have Souček now, right?
Souček and James Ward-Prowse. So I'd like to see all these teams in your list here because I've got a lot of players from these teams.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, I guess that's the advantage of wild carding later. And I know a lot of people are looking at game week. I think 10 is kind of the target for a lot of people out there, people who held off. I know that game week 8 ended up being a very popular wildcard week, but 10 is up there too. And you can see why, because you've got that Luton match with Villa that I referred to before. Arsenal hosts Sheffield, and then West Ham hosts Everton too. So just there's a lot of players. A lot of squads have, let's say Liverpool hosts Forest, right? So you can kind of go up and down the line there. So, a lot of players that aren't in squads right now, like even, I know a lot of us myself included, dropped Saka, right? And so for me, it's like, I probably need to get Saka back as soon as possible, right? And that may happen as soon as game week 10. I mean, do we know if he's healthy yet? I'm not, I haven't really seen any like huge updates yet on Saka. I mean, it's international break, and so I feel like even the news that you get. Have you noticed this new trend? It's incredibly annoying, where it's like Football London is one of the worst, where they will do these like SEO headlines that are like, and they keep refreshing the article. So the article was posted like 2 hours ago, and then it'll be like the up to the minute latest on Saka, and then it's just some quote from a press conference like 4 days ago, and you're like, how did you like? It's Google,
still true.
Yeah,
it's still up to the minute. There's been no other information released. I guess. I mean, I also don't think that Saka's camp, Arsenal's camp, or England's camp could release any information about his fitness, just given that he's not in the camp. And it would be a bad look for Saka if he didn't report to England duty because of an injury, and then the report comes out that he's back training back at Arsenal. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything, but knowing what we know about Arteta and Saka is that he's more likely to play than not, and we've heard nothing about his injury that would suggest he's going under the knife or it's anything too serious like that. I mean, the guy was just due, like, let this man go to bed for a little while. So I hope that's been a restorative break for him and he comes back with a vengeance in game week 9.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I just was Googling while you were talking here. Evening Standard now claims that Saka is set for injury rehab over the week before being assessed ahead of the Chelsea match. So, yeah, I mean, just pretty much exactly what you just said. So we shall see on Saka.
The word assessed is huge in the Bukayo Saka word cloud. It's the biggest word, assessed.
Yeah. And of course that means nothing, because it just means what are we going to find out from the presser on Friday or whatever. So those are so I think I'd say those are the big four. And then, Liverpool, a really nice run too. Everton, Forest, Luton, Brentford, especially the next four. They do play Man City in game week 13, but the next four in particular are terrific. And so, there was a question from Chancellor I mentioned before about Tsimikas and whether the FPL gods are just kind of throwing us a bone with him right now. And it seems like he solves a lot of problems for a lot of people, myself included. He fills that Estupiñán hole quite well. If there's any kind of even mild, like, even if it's just 2 or 3 weeks with Robbo, that might be enough to justify bringing Tsimikas in. So, and then, I guess that really brings up the Salah question too, which is, you do not have Salah. You made the choice not to go Salah. Have you given any thought to bringing him in, or are you just going to ride without him? This is just going to go, just going to go Salah-less.
I like how you frame that. Definitely. You made the choice.
Well, there was no,
I did.
There wasn't like an accusatory tone to it. I mean, I just mean like you literally. It was a choice, right? You were on a wild card, so that's what I mean by that. Like, I remember when you're on a wild card, you've got to make choices, and you made a choice.
I remember like getting home late after curfew, and my mom was like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "At a friend's house." And she's like, "Do they not have phones at your friend's house?" And that's kind of how I feel not having Salah. Is you're my mom, and you're just kind of like, did they not have Salah where you were when you were wild carding? What was the problem? But so, I mean, the gamble is the age old. I'm going to cover Salah's points with other players, and I like the look of my team so much better.
Yeah, you're not going to captain him very often, that sort of thing. Yeah,
and I think I'd feel smug about my decision to go without Salah had he not scored a bloody brace in game week 8. And
would you feel smug? I'm not sure I've ever felt smug in my entire life. I don't even know what it would feel like to feel smug. It's just I have too much anxiety at all times to ever feel like truly smug. Do you feel smug often, or just like sometimes? Like, do you feel smug every day? A little bit every day?
I'm not an everyday smugger, but I'm maybe a one smug a month sort of a guy.
Wow.
I enjoy feeling smug because that means that it's an I told you so moment.
So you'll walk by like a McDonald's in Midtown and be like, I'm not eating there.
Yeah, totally. As I walk into the Sweet Green and pay $24 for a salad.
Yeah, exactly.
The smugness can work is going in every direction. A lot of smugness being fired at me, and I'm firing it right back.
That's true. It's a smug economy.
So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So there it is. As the smug economy goes, so does the Salah economy. And right now, I don't have him. And it's like you were saying with Watkins, you're feeling exposed, not having him. I can't believe I just compared Ollie Watkins to Mo Salah, but here we are. This is kind of what the season has come down to. And that really was it. To get Watkins, I had to get Watkins and Trippier. I sacrificed Salah to be reductive.
Sure. No, I don't know how you read a lot into the way I said that. You made a choice. I didn't even say it was a bad choice. I mean, I think it was a rational choice. It does look bad because he scored a brace, but it doesn't mean it was a bad choice. I mean, you got 12 from Trippier. It's only 3 fewer than Salah, so it didn't work out so poorly.
So then where are we on the Salah heat index?
Or 7 from Trippier. I guess it wasn't 12, but whatever.
Yeah. So you have Salah and I do not. The narrative that Salah is setting that we've talked about on Always Cheating before is he is the Harry Kane of this season. Last season, Harry Kane, we were like too expensive, can't fit him in. And week after week after week, he provided fantasy points.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's pretty much exactly the same situation. I can't think of any difference between that Kane situation and the Salah thing.
Yeah.
So you having Salah, do you look at people who don't have Salah and think that's kind of crazy?
Well, I don't feel smug, if that's what you're asking.
We know that. Okay. Yep.
But well, I think it's a little different than Kane, because I do think that Salah. I think given that Haaland has been a kind of mild disappointment fantasy wise this season, it maybe makes him less of an auto captain every single week. I have to admit, at the moment, I do have Haaland as my captain. They play a Brighton team that cannot keep clean sheets, and it seems kind of logical to go with Haaland, from my perspective. But I could you can make a case for a lot of players, actually, I think, in game week 9. So again, I don't want to jump the gun on the captaincy discussion. We're going to save that for the game week 9 preview proper. But I do think that Salah, I think the Kane season last year, there didn't tend to be a lot of massive like returns, right? Like there weren't, like, you didn't always want to captain him because it felt like he was kind of in that, like, he was going to get between 7 and 9 points every week, which is great. Like, that's a great return. But when you had someone like Haaland last season who was getting what felt like double digits practically every other week, right? If not every week, it felt like at times. Whereas with Salah, he has double-digit returns in 3 of his last 4 matches, right? And so I think that with him, I think it's a little more, he's a little more captainable, and I think that does separate him a little bit from Kane last season, whereas Kane wasn't quite as captainable, maybe a little easier to get away with not having him. So I think that would be the case, I think, for having Salah. Certainly, if I was wildcarding now, I would have him. You probably would too, honestly. I think it's a tricky one to decide, on those things. But again, you've got to make sacrifices. There's just no way to have everybody, especially this season when there's a lot of balance out there. It's sort of, It may be that eventually you turn Son into Salah. I don't think that's like an impossible thing to do.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just the banana peel for people who wildcarded into Game Week 8 was that Spurs-Luton Town match and the necessity of having Son, because we all assumed that Spurs were going to pour it on Luton. And
that freak red card kind of threw everything off.
I do wonder, looking backwards, if that wasn't a Luton match for Spurs, the obvious thing would be to only have one Spurs midfielder, probably just Maddison, and Son is Salah, and then the other sacrifices get made thereabouts. But I agree with you. I think Spurs, like, they're in great attacking form under Ange, but we're now starting to get a better idea of what fixtures are best. It's almost like the more competitive fixtures are better for the Spurs attack, and they're not going to be flat track bullies from a fantasy point of view.
Yeah, you talked about not having Watkins for his like the it could be the 1 week this season when you don't have Watkins is the 1 week when you got 24 points, 23, whatever it was.
Yeah,
that's how I feel like with Son. Just the kind of how there were 4 game weeks in between the last 2 international breaks, and I had him for Forest and Luton Town, the 2 matches that he that he blanked, and I did not have him for the 2 tricky matches where he got a brace and scored a goal. Like I didn't have him from Arsenal and Liverpool, but I did have him for Luton and Forest, and somehow those were the 2 matches where he got absolutely nothing out of them. So that's also just like kind of randomness. You can't really attribute that to and he had chances, and he put Porro through in that Luton match. Absolutely should have been an assist. Big missed chance from Porro, and so whatever, it happens. They
don't call him Porro for nothing.
What's that?
They don't call him Porro for nothing.
They don't call him Porro. You got a lot today. This and this stupid on. You should.
Stupid man. Porro.
Yeah, these are incredible. I can't wait till your open mic night. Please save me a ticket.
Is this on?
There's no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform that you need to build yours. When you're hiring, you need Indeed. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy because Indeed does the hard work for you. They show you the candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your description immediately after you post so you can hire faster. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Blue Wire Sports. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/Blue Wire Sports. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire Sports, and support the show by saying that you heard it on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire Sports. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
This Halloween,
mystery lurks around every corner.
Bundle up with Disney Plus and Hulu.
What are you scared of? The dark.
It's spine-tingling fun on Disney Plus with Haunted Mansion and Goosebumps.
I'm gonna need you to spread the word.
Then feel the bone-chilling terror on Hulu with The Boogeyman and American Horror Story Delicate.
Something's happening to me.
The Disney Bundle with Hulu and Disney Plus. All of these and more streaming this month. Plans starting at $9.99 a month. 18 plus only. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for eligible subscribers only. Terms apply.
Reboot your credit card with Apple Card. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that can earn 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a savings account. A high-yield, low-effort way to grow your money with no fees. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone to start earning and growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners, subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
All right. Well, then just a couple teams that have poor fixtures over the next 5 too. Again, this is part of that blank slate mentality, right? It's like, okay, let's just like forget everything we've been sort of thinking about with these squads in the last 8 weeks. Let's start fresh. Who's got good fixtures? Who's got poor, right? So we just talked about a handful of teams. And then, a few that have poor fixtures are Chelsea, Man City, and Brentford. So, Chelsea, it feels like they've had a seemingly endless run of good matches to start of the season. Has not really translated into huge points, but that, as always happens in the Premier League, that eventually will turn. And I think we're seeing that now. I mean, over the next 5, they've got Arsenal, Brentford at home, which is, not a terrible fixture, but I mean, Brentford just went away to Man United and were 5 minutes away from beating them. Spurs away, then Man City and Newcastle away. So basically one decent fixture out of the next 5. So now is the time. And most people have kind of divested their Chelsea players anyway, but certainly as another reason, if you had 2 or 3, maybe you're holding on to, I don't know, Sanchez and Sterling or something like that. That would be another reason a wild card in 9 or 10, right? Would be to kind of maybe drop those Chelsea assets. And Man City, I mean, in some ways they are a little more fixture proof, and I guess with them it's a little more hit or miss. I mean, they have Brighton at home, probably a pretty good match from an attacking point of view. Although Brighton, you would expect, would have a really good chance of scoring in that match, despite Man City's excellent defense. Away to Man United, just always kind of an unpredictable match. You and I saw Manchester Derby ourselves, and that was at a moment when Man City were flying high and Man United were not, and Man United still won that match.
McTominay again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. McTominay and Anthony Martial too. Took a well-taken goal from him. And none of our bets came through, though, did they, Brandon?
How could they not when guys like Martial and McTominay are scoring the goals? How would
you
a
and
bet
I had
not
our little bet sheet that we got at Old Trafford. We were so excited for all of our bets. And then they play Bournemouth. Okay, that's a good one. I mean, rarely is it all bad, but then it's Chelsea away, which is fine, but just not like you wouldn't expect it to be an explosive fixture.
Not
for
with
them.
you and me in the stands. I would not want to go play at Stamford Bridge with Brandon in the concourse, letting the beer fall through the hole in the bottom of the cup.
Wow. Do I captain? I think I don't captain Haaland for that match. I don't think I want that kind of stress. I don't want to see my captain in person. I think that's going to be too much. Also, we're going to be probably with other Chelsea, there's going to be other Chelsea supporters around us. Mm-hmm. And if Haaland scores 4 goals and I just start jumping up and down celebrating, it's not going to be good luck. They're going to kick us out of West London, so we can't.
No, we can't. The last time I captained a player when we saw a match live was when we saw Arsenal play West Ham at the Emirates, and it was a double game week that was canceled because of COVID, and I had captained Aubameyang, and he blanked, and then the season blanked at that point, and that was tough. that was a tough look.
Yeah, that was a tough. So I don't know. I think maybe I'll just have one. Maybe I'll certainly have Haaland, but maybe we just have Haaland and Alvarez, and we can just quietly, fist pump under the table or something.
100%.
They score a goal.
I'll text you.
Yeah, exactly. Just text me right next to me, and then they play Liverpool in game week 12. So it's a pretty tough 5-match run for Man City. And by the way, I don't know how far ahead you look, Brendan, with fixtures. I almost always look in 5-week blocks. I just think you go any further than that, you're not getting a full picture. You go any fewer than that, it feels like maybe it's a little too light. You're not getting a full picture. So that's 5 years.
Yeah, I might even do a shorter window of 3 to 4 game weeks, but because I like to be nimble.
3, 4 is I think 4. Yeah, 4 is probably fine. I don't know, 5. Maybe I just like the way 5 looks when I do a fixture ticket with 5.
5 does feel good. I guess it kind of depends on what kind of transfer you're looking to make. Are you you've got a luxury foreign player transfer to make? Maybe you want to capitalize within the 2 to 3 week window, or are you looking to bring in a longer term player, then you want to look farther ahead.
Yeah. And I think that, that's true. And I guess just in general, I'm trying to look farther ahead, right? Mm-hmm. I think in general, it's when you make those transfers for 2 or 3 weeks, it usually seems to backfire. It's one of the reasons why I shouldn't have dropped Son when I brought him in on my wild card, right? I was just too hasty with my kind of regret on that one. All right, so let's take some listener questions here, Brandon. Let's do this lightning round style because you and I went way long in our psychology corner. So we talked about Tsimikas already. Thank you for that question, Dan. Shiv Roy said, how many times are you planning on captaining Haaland in the next 5 or 6 weeks? So here comes that first captain question. So, all right, so I told you already, I am planning to captain Haaland in game week 9. Yeah. What about you? Game week 9?
Bus team. Haaland is my game week 9 captain. That is correct. I am thinking about Spurs. We can debate that a little bit in a moment. But take that. Manchester Derby, game week 10. This was just points pouring in for Man City last season. So I don't see a huge case against captaining Haaland in game week 10 either, unless you want to make a pro case for Salah at home to Forest.
I'd make that case. I think you make a case for Salah at home to Forest. I think that even Odegaard, Arsenal hosting Sheffield United would be an interesting shout. It's there's quite a number of teams have good fixtures that week, and so but I think I would probably go Salah. I think Odegaard would be the fun one in 10, but I think Haaland's probably like second for me as well in game week.
He's close. You could at least make a case for him. So you've got us captaining him against Brighton in 9, a case for him in 10. Definitely home Bournemouth game week 11, captain Haaland, and then you've got Chelsea and Liverpool in game weeks 12 and 13. Possibly Chelsea. So there's a legit case for 4 out of 5 of the next game weeks to still go Haaland despite everything that's been happening. I just want to underscore the fact that Rodri is back in the midfield for City this game week. And City clearly have missed him. And I just think this is going to be transformative for at least chance creation for City. So I want to see what happens there. And the whole conversation about Haaland could completely change if City looks rejuvenated with Rodri back in the midfield and they pump a few goals past Brighton.
I think that's true. I thought my instincts are telling me that this is going to be a weird season for Haaland. Just starting to feel that way, right? Like I feel like we sometimes get these with great players, Kane and Van Persie. Like it just there's I feel like maybe even like Suarez going back a few. It's like every now and then, like a great player has just a season where it doesn't quite click, and I'm starting to worry that this might be the case with Haaland. I would say it's more likely 2 or 3 of the next 5 that I'll be captaining Haaland. I think I agree with you. 9 and 11. By the way, in game week 10, I think Watkins, Villa at home to Luton Town. I think you've got to consider Watkins as a captain option there as well. It's just really hard to not see him getting an attack and return in that match. It feels very, very likely that he will. So 3. So you're saying probably 4 out of 5. I'm saying probably 3 out of 5. So still quite a lot. I'm still not in the no Haaland camp. I can understand the argument for it. It's kind of the same argument that you made for not going with Salah, right? Which is that you have other players you want to captain and you want to spread the money around. But I'm okay with the slightly imbalanced squad at the moment with Haaland and Salah. All right. So Captain Kingpin, I feel we kind of answered this a little bit already, but he says, should you prioritize Salah over dealing with problem players in your team? If you don't have a wild card and you don't have Salah and you don't have a way to get there that involves anything more than a -4, I probably would just roll without him. I think that again, we kind of just talked through the captaincy a minute ago, and I think that, and again, like because you have Watkins as a game week 10 captain, even that game week where maybe Haaland isn't the best pick, there's another kind of excellent, affordable captain option sitting right there already. So I think you're kind of okay going without Salah.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's a 2 birds, 1 stone approach. If you really want Salah, but you have a problem in your team, is there a way for you to do both? I'm going to get rid of this problem and in the process take a -4 to get him in, to get Salah in. But on principle, I agree with what you're saying, Josh. It's my logic on the wild card. I don't know. I'm just playing that dangerous game. And I think week to week, it will bear fruit. Like the Haaland doubters or the Haaland jettisoners, have done well the last couple of weeks. There will be a time for the Salah haters.
I agree, and what I like about this is that you clearly don't believe what you're saying, but you are practicing the power of positive thinking, which is exactly what this week's pod is about. And so I like to hear you. It's very George Costanza, right? It's not a lie if you believe it, and so I think that's good.
Weave your web, liar man. Oh yes,
exactly. All right, Idleberry says, keeping ownership in mind, who is more likely to hurt you if you don't own them, Son or Trippier? Both seem like good options, but both also feel like they could be luxury options at their respective positions.
I think the answer is Son is more likely to hurt you because what Trippier has shown, it's finely balanced, but what Trippier has shown the last 3 weeks is he has more attacking output than any other Newcastle defender, while at the same time, Newcastle defenders have shown they're just going to get clean sheets. So you can sort of like mildly cover Trippier's points at a bargain price of 4.5 to 5 million. Botman, Shaw, Burn, whatever. Trippier still, if you can afford him, would be the best player to have. On the other hand, with Son can get a hat trick, and there's no way to replicate that. You know what I mean?
I guess I don't agree. Just because I have seen how much Trippier has hurt me the last handful of weeks, not having him. Even last week, where all he got was an assist and a couple bonus, but that was enough to really ding me overall rank wise. And so, I do think that you could make for example, I think Odegaard is a perfectly serviceable Son replacement, right? Who's like 0.8 million cheaper or something like that. So it's like, or even someone like, Gerard
Bowen.
Gerard Bowen. I know I got stuck on the pronunciation there. Gerard Bowen. I think he's even someone that you could probably make an argument offers something similar in terms of kind of floor and ceiling that Son offers. So I'm not saying that I'm making that case, but I'm saying like it's an argument that I listen to. Whereas I think that Trippier, despite his price, really, it just feels like he's been. He had an incredible 4-week block of matches. There's just no getting around it. And if you had him, it just really, really. It had to be good for your overall rank. I don't know what and I didn't, and I sort of prioritized other things, and I kind of treaded water the last few weeks, and so at the moment it kind of feels like I have to say Trippier because I did have Son for some of these, and Son is just so he's just kind of inconsistent. I think that's really the frustration with him, whereas Trippier is so consistent. It's like a floor versus ceiling argument, I guess. All right, 2 more questions, Brandon. Nick Stuhling says, is Mbomo worth holding for Burnley, or is Mbomo now Mbusto?
Mbomo playing with Cameroon. They played Russia, of all nations, in a friendly, and they're due to play Senegal, I think, on Monday. All that said, he's so important to Brentford. I think he's still, even though he's been serving up a few blanks fantasy wise, is he's still having a pretty good season, and I would definitely want to keep him for this Burnley match. I think Burnley have been getting away with it being talked about as like the worst team in the Premier League because Luton have been kind of weird, Sheffield United have been terrible. Burnley have put up some real incredible dud performances all along the way, and I like Mbomo for an attacking return in Gameweek 9.
Yeah, I think I do too. I suspect I'm going to end up watching this match shaking my head like Lee Trevino, just very, very disappointed, like I have been the last few weeks. But he had some better moments in the Man United match, and I don't know. It really feels like this team is just so banged up right now, and it's really hurting their attack. And Mbomo is certainly someone I'm looking to drop as soon as possible. Okay, here's actually an interesting question for you. I have looking at my lineup right now for Gameweek 9, and I have Carlton Morris on the bench and Mbomo starting. And I guess the question is, should I start Morris, who play Forest away, or should I start Mbomo, who play Burnley at home? I think you got to go with Mbomo, but it's pretty tight, actually. It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's not tight, but I don't think I'd lose much sleep over it and go Mbomo. Forest have been having a good season, you know, and particularly even going back to last season, Forest are really remarkably good at home, and they are playing Luton at home. I think they'll do fine against Luton. Morris is he's on pens, but so is Mbomo. All the good things that Morris can do, Mbomo can do. And he plays on a better team.
Yeah, that is I think that's still true. I don't even know it. No, I mean, no, Brentford are better than Luton, but man, they've had a rough handful of weeks. All right, so one final question here, Brandon. This comes from Lucas E, who says, "Who are the best?" Okay, let's just make this a one person pick here. Who is the best mid-priced mid for a 1 to 2 week punt before you take a wild card, right? So a lot of people are wild carding in game week 10. If you could only have one midfielder, Brandon, who would you pick?
In the what price range are we talking about here?
Doesn't say. Oh, he says mid-priced. So let's say between 6 and 9. And this is for the game week 9-10 window.
You know, you mentioned Liverpool earlier, and we didn't talk about any other attacking assets apart from Salah. Luis Diaz, if you can get to him, you get Luis Diaz for 2 weeks, home in the Merseyside derby, and then home Nottingham Forest. I think he's looked good, played well. He'd be my pick.
Okay, I like that one. I think I'll throw. Was he healthy? I guess that's the one question. Hold on. Hold the line here, Brandon, for a second.
Okay. We're holding.
What are they saying right now? Okay. Yeah. Actually, he should be fine. Diaby. How about Diaby, Brandon? 6.7 million. They play West Ham, Luton, and Forest in the following 3. So if you're looking for a 3 week,
then Fulham,
like Diaby. Continually run, and then Fulham, who I like. For some reason, I'm like rating Fulham now. Their defense has been a little bit better. Yeah. So, but 2 goals, 4 assists in the season. Has been flying a little under the radar. I think he is kind of a fun pick. I also think Bowen is kind of the perennial. Keeps going under the radar. There's a really interesting match on Sunday. It's the only match, strangely, on Sunday, and it's Villa hosting West Ham. I'm almost certainly not going to have any players in that match because I don't have Watkins at the moment. Don't really have a great way to get there. But I think that is a really, really cool kind of upper, bottom of the top of the table clash. I think that should be a lot of fun, that match.
So I'm really beside myself with that match because I have double Villa and double West Ham. And it's sort of like I'm like doing the Larry David, like I could go this way, I could go that way. Right now, I'm looking at benching both Ward-Prowse and Souček in favor of double Newcastle defense against Palace.
Right. I think that's the right move.
Yeah, and then you just bank on the home team in Villa doing their thing against West Ham, and then my West Ham players will live to fight another day. But I agree with you. It's going to be a fun match. I hope it's competitive. It will be.
That's a real both teams to score kind of match, though. I see both teams getting something out of that match. So maybe that's a reason to, I don't know. Do you want Ward-Prowse?
Set piece specialist.
Ward-Prowse over Burn, right? Is it Burn?
The upside would be higher, I think, with JWP. So that's probably the shrewder move is I move back to a 3-4-3.
Yeah, it's like a coin flip, though, I feel, between those two. All right, so there's some picks from us. This is our new, hopefully more cheerful approach to the rest of the season. Brandon, let's take one last break and we'll take a quick peek at Game Week 9 itself. All right, Brandon, we're back. Game Week 9. Got 8 matches on Saturday. Villa, West Ham, the aforementioned Villa, West Ham on Sunday, and then Spurs hosting Fulham on Monday. So talk to me. You're a Fulham supporter. You have at least kicked around the idea of captaining Son for this match. Would be fun to have a captain on Monday, right? Just sort of sweat everybody else out, and then it's just see what you can do with that captain. So How do you feel about Fulham right now? How do you feel about their chances in this match? How do you feel about their defense versus Spurs? Are you excited about this match as a supporter, or are you just kind of want it to be over? What are you thinking?
I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a fun match, and I think it'll be a fun match because Fulham don't really, we were complaining about low block analysis, but for what it's worth, Fulham just don't really do a low block. They are a more sort of expansive team, and their defense isn't good enough to park the bus in that way, and there is a heavy reliance on Polina to be that midfield destroyer. Who's going to have a good week fullback wise? The problem with Fulham fullback wise, if you want to stop Spurs on the wings, is Tete hasn't been fit for Fulham, their best right back, and Anthony Robinson, I don't know what's up with him. He did not report for international duty for the U.S. Maybe he just decided to.
I'm not sure.
Do
he got called. Yeah, did he not?
There's no way he would not have been called up. So anyway, there are some question marks there about how Fulham will defend wide, and with Ream and Diop in the middle, they're competent, but they're not mobile. So if you have Son getting great service in the 18-yard box, he'll be able to turn those guys pretty easily. So I do think Spurs have an easier time against Fulham than they do than they do against a team like Luton Town, who are more adept at let's just pack the box and make it very difficult for them to find any avenue to get a shot on target. Fulham are not going to play that way, so it's going to be more open. It's going to be maybe Fulham score a goal. It's like a 3-1 probably in favor of Spurs. So it says if you have any interest in being differential. Captaining Son here, I think, is a very good opportunity.
Okay. 3-1. And what do we think the Man City Brighton match will be? The problem is I could see that one being 3-1 or 4-1 as well, right? Although it's hard to say. It's so weird. It's like you can almost see Brighton winning that match too in their weird way, right? They're sort of like it's like they're. I definitely see goals in that match, and and the reason I bring this up is because I feel like it's kind of between those two, where I would be considering, for my captain pick.
Well, just look at what Aston Villa did to Brighton and Ollie Watkins, and it just makes your head spin to try to predict any scoreline against Brighton at the moment.
That's.
I think it's like a win-win. When it's Haaland versus Son, captaining either of them, if you have both of them, I should say it's like a win-win. I think you'll collect points either way. I think Haaland's probably more likely to. I don't know. Why is Haaland more likely to score goals? That's some historical bias, man.
Well, he plays 90 minutes every match, and he's the whole attack is built around creating chances for him, whereas Son gets subbed at the 70th minute every match. That's right. That's a good point. So those are two excellent points that push us toward Haaland. I think that's right. So then it becomes like we were saying, blank slate. What's going to be fun? Is it going to be fun? Do you want to have a huge stake in the last match of the game week with Spurs home Fulham? That sounds really fun. Are you really competitive against somebody in a mini league and you feel like they're going to captain Haaland? Go Son. I think that's the rationale. If you just want to play kind of play by the book, you're at the blackjack table and you say, what does the book say? I think the book says here, captain Haaland. Yeah. What do you do if you have a lucrative skins match with your podcast co-host and you're trying to get an early edge?
What do you do?
Yeah, I've got to consult my. I've got to consult my priest, by which I mean my bookie, and we're going to work out a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the question from SRE says, "Who to captain this week if you don't have Haaland? Alvarez, Spurs, someone on Spurs, Salah at 7:30. 7:30. That's 7:30 U.S. time. I think Salah is a perfectly fine captain. The derby matches always throw me off a little bit because I talked about this with the Manchester derby earlier. They're just unpredictable, right? It's like I expect Liverpool to win, of course, but they're just just because everyone's so keyed up for them, and so, I don't know, and so it's just sort of it feels less predictable. And so it sort of always throws me off a little bit. Like, I feel like if I was debating, if I didn't have Haaland, I would probably just go Son. And that just feels safer for me for the exact reasons you outlined when you were talking about how you think that Spurs Fulham match is going to go, right? It just seems very likely that we're going to get 2 or 3 goals from Spurs in that match, which means Son will most likely be involved, assuming no freak 44th minute red cards this time around.
Yeah. 2-0 or something like that. I don't know. How bad is this Sean Dyche iteration?
They have been better. I mean, the Everton have clearly improved, and so or whatever. I don't know. The results are better, certainly. So I don't think they're going to be quite the pushovers that they would have been like the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
Sure, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, their form is bless. No one wanted to see Sean Dyche fail in a catastrophic way. We're all rooting for him.
I like him. I feel the same way. I'm rooting for him too. So, all right. Transfer decisions. What are you looking at? Are you looking to make any transfer decisions in Game Week 9? Are you hoping not to make a transfer?
I am hoping to make no transfer decisions, which feels good coming off of a wild card. The wild card didn't score very well in its first game week, but it does. I'm still confident it's left me set up decently. So I think 2 going into Game Week 9, and you said the magic words, Bukayo Saka earlier. So I don't have him on wild card. Odegaard may have to turn into Saka next week. Yeah. And then what to do with Son when the Spurs fixtures turn. So I feel like I've got a fair number of high profile moves that could benefit from having 2 frees in the bank.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, I think, with Odegaard too, because in Game Week 9, Arsenal play away to Chelsea. It may not be the best fixture.
Yeah,
it's going to be very tempting to try to find a way to move him to Salah perhaps in 10. But that Sheffield United fixture is so strong, and I think that's one of the ones you brought him in for. So I think that's going to be a debate.
Yeah, maybe it's Son to Saka in Game Week 10. So
that's where I'm leaning too. Son, I think for me, my transfer decisions, I'm also hoping to save mine, and ideally, I actually think Mbomo to Souček, and then use that money to. I could even consider making 3 transfers possibly. Like it could be like something like Mbomo to Souček. Madison to Saka. I don't know. Actually, those 2 moves might just be the simplest way to go next week. And just because I do feel like I'm going to want to have Saka back sooner than later. It's been really consistent this year. It was a short-term move to drop him. Really targeting that Luton and a nice run of fixtures for Spurs too. It felt, I think it's hard not to let results get in the way of like good process, right? But targeting that Luton Town fixture for Spurs, given how Spurs have played this year, it was a reasonable thing to do. And they absolutely blitzed Luton the first 20 minutes of that match. It's just, they just could not score. Yeah. And mostly Richarlison just played so poorly. And it's sort of, and I feel like when that happens, when you've got a match where I just feel like we've seen this script before, where one team really overmatches the other team, and they go like 20 minutes, and they absolutely are on top of them, and they just cannot score a goal. So the other team is suddenly like, "Hey, wait a second, like maybe we got a chance here, right?" And they sort of step it up, and then that's when you get that's like the recipe for a 1-0 basically, and that's why Man City at their best are so lethal, right? Because they used to be the kings of like the 5th minute goal, right? It'd be like kickoff, tweet, like KDB goes, KDB
nice whistle, I like that.
Thank you. And then it's like KDB goes down the right, crosses into
Leroy Sané,
Aguero or Sané, exactly. Somebody, boom, goal, match over, effectively, right?
Tweet, match over.
Yeah, tweet, match over. So anyway, all right. So that's my. I'm hoping to hold my transfer as well. We'll see if somebody gets injured, or I think we can end up having a little chaos. We almost always do have international breaks, and so that's just something I'm kind of ready for. How about an XDIH, Brandon? X dog in him. Yeah, sponsored by the hit movie Strays.
Yeah, I was dismayed to see that Strays is not only just playing in theaters, but is now on NBC Peacock, which for all the U.S. listeners, that's great synergy with the Premier League that also airs on the Peacock network. So Strays and the Premier League become ever more intertwined.
Yeah, I was thinking we might have to do, that thing where you do like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon over Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I think you and I may have to do a commentary track for Strays.
Okay.
That we did put up on our YouTube page. And just like you just cue it up when they have when the credits like start, right? Or when the production company is shown, right? You hit play and you and I narrate Strays.
Yeah. Bruno Fernandes is ex-DIH.
Ooh,
away from the barking mob of Old Trafford. Bruno can be free, and there's no better time or no better team against which to get your mojo back than against Sheffield United right now. How about you?
Okay, I like that one. I think that's a strong one. Okay, I will go with. Who do I think is going to have that dog in him this week, Brandon? Okay, I've got a good one here. Oh no, he's injured. Oh my God. Did you know that A1E is injured until November 5th? I had missed that somehow.
Does he have a knee injury? And we could say A1E's knee.
Oh my God! Why don't you just keep working on your work on these jokes? Well, okay. So you know what? Let's keep it then. Let's keep it with Forrest, and I think that he's poised for a breakout match. He's had some really nice performances. Callum Hudson-Odoi is my ex-DIH. They play Luton Town at home. I think this is a really good opportunity for Forrest to have a nice big win for the fans. Homecoming weekend in the fall, crisp leaves falling. Brandon, I think
the homecoming dance in the forest.
I think yes. I think he's gonna score a double hat trick and 6 goals from Hudson-Odoi this week. That feels low end to me, between 6 and 9. And then this is a new feature for this week's pod, Brandon. But we're gonna try it out, see how it goes. And that is. We're all busy people, right? Mm-hmm. And you can take this one any way you can go. It can be fantasy. It can be real life. It could be, I want to show a friend a match. But if you could only watch one match this weekend, what match are you watching?
I'm watching Chelsea Arsenal. It's a London derby, and it's the overmatched Chelsea with the advantage playing in front of their home support. Which it's like a good handicap against a team that's playing as well as Arsenal are. So I think that's just going to be a great atmosphere, a great broadcast, and a good match.
That's a good one. I'm going to stick with. I kind of touted this match earlier, but I'm going to go with Villa West Ham. I think that'll be a fun one. I actually just realized too that I am going to have a player in that game because Flecken is now probably permanently dropped, and so my Areola will be starting for me in that match. But I see that even though I'll be starting Areola, I see goals on both sides in this match. I think it's two teams that are really playing well at the moment. Certainly, you have to give the slight advantage to Villa. That is the one, by the way, for our next UK trip after this November one. I think we really need to try to take a trip up to Aston Villa, to see them play.
Oh, definitely. And I think up there in Birmingham, as you say, lots of great Premier League stadia. We could go by Wolves.
We could do a full Midlands trip.
Yeah, we could go see Tom Brady's team, Birmingham City.
There you go. Yeah.
So I love it. Yeah, we could just be based there.
All right. So those are our final picks for this week. Thank you to everyone who listened to the pod. If you would like to support the pod, you can go to patreon.com/alwayscheating. We'd really appreciate it if you did. Brandon, the podcast market, it's crazier than ever. It's nuttier than ever. It's, advertisers are in, the economy, Brandon. Are you watching these interest rates rise and fall? So, if you want to make sure that we can keep doing this podcast, if you want to just say thank you, honestly, that's the biggest reason. If you just want to say thank you and you enjoy the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/alwayscheating. Then we also, we do bonus episodes each week for our listeners. The Slack chat, the Discord, it used to be Slack, now it's Discord, is up and running, and we do contests throughout the year. Did you see, by the way, I think the Not Your Average Cheater has been resolved. Didn't that end?
Oh my God!
Yeah, after
massacre.
We did a tournament to start the season on the Discord. Our friend Eric started out, and it was basically you just had to finish above the average score. each week to stay in. It was like a knockout style tournament. And amazingly, within 8 weeks this season, every single person had been knocked out save one. That is absolutely incredible. It's been such a tricky season. So we do stuff like that all the time. There's lots of different leagues and people from all over the world. So if you're looking for a little bit of community, in your state or country or wherever, you can go to Discord and find that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we want to thank the top dogs, the producer patrons, Mike DePietro, Trevor Ingerson, our buddy Chris Howell, Babas Kuhn, James Haaland, Dave Wigner, Lodall, Nick Wright, Lazaros Llanos, Jesse Halstead, Bruce Kerr, Brian Chin, Blair Jacobson, Todd Byerly, Andy Portlock at FPL Merch, Kerry Swanson, Jefferson Turner, Buffalo Wild Mings, Francis Moore, Sam Shower, Caleb Robbie, Volger, Paulson Kruger, Alex Holcombs, James Keatley, The Saint, Bob Fox, Craig Jackson, Shalin F. Kadakia, Terrence O'Donnell, Paul Herzig, Heath Cram, Thomas Tislob, Noah Louise, Travis Grant, Julio Pena, Linus Vennerstrom, Dan Parsons, James C., Matthew Skinner, Frode Jacobson, Brennan, Daniel Hart, Lolly, and Ben Coombs. Rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us wherever you get your social media, except TikTok. Don't follow us on TikTok. Email us, hailcheaters@gmail.com, and find our website with all this information at alwayscheating.com.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.